Dr. G here, answering questions from students in our communication course. What is this? COM 4603, Creating Social Media Presence and Cultural Movements. I was fielding some questions from Rosalind just a second ago, and couldn't help but notice one more that I think could benefit us reading, so allow me to do so. Author Goodson speaks of, we're talking about Scott Goodson, author of Uprising, speaks of, quote, passion, the only prerequisite, end quote, and how important it is to have passion for what we do. On page 9. Thank you for all the in-text citations, everyone, by the way. It's very helpful. It's very thoughtful. It's very studious of us. Good rigor there. You ask the questions to us as a class. Do we believe that passion can be faked? My question is, turning the tables. Do you think that true passion can fizzle? In other words, is it possible for the flame of true passion to burn out over time? That's a great question. And I believe that we can burn out, okay, for lack of a better term. I think it doesn't always happen, but it depends on the situation. It depends on, is there something we love, we have passion about, we get put into a position to work with it professionally, and suddenly, or after maybe many years, it is that sort of the joy, the pride, everything is kind of stripped away. For sure, that can happen. We can change career fields. In fact, we're at a point in society where, just like college students, the average number of careers changes more than ever. And it's similarly, you would see students at the largest universities flip-flopping majors. But that can cost us time, that can cost us money. But also the economy is fluid. So I think one of the benefits of a communication degree is it's multidisciplinary. We can plug it into many situations and outlets. We can help a variety of organizations, most organizations, in some form or fashion. We need to know how to use it. We need to know how to market ourselves and our strengths, which is something we're trying to draw out just as we're learning about that. Destiny has some questions that we want to get to let's talk about some questions from the Interviewing for Journalists book, Emily Potter. How has the advancements in technology affected interviews? Do you think that journalists have become lazy because of what they can find on the internet? Page 2 to 3. Have the journalists or content creators, depends on what we're talking about, have journalists become lazy because of the internet, or have readers become lazy? Is a good question we could ask through expansion. When was the last article you started and didn't finish? Or let me ask a better question. How many articles, news or quasi-news, have you opened and started reading and not finished? Let me rephrase it one more time. Which do you do more often? Read an entire article, or open up, read part of it, quickly skim, go back, go read something else, go back to scrolling through your high school friends' pictures, okay? And if it's anything but the former, then we as audience members are perhaps not being disciplined in that part of reading. But there is this stigma being pushed out against the old young journalists of today, okay? And we can broaden that term journalist. We can broaden it in many career fields, okay? The hook, though, the kicker is, the term, when I say young people in the workforce today, the buzzword used most often is millennials. There is a negative reputation, okay, for young professionals to be impatient and arguably entitled to instant success in their professional careers when we literally can't get to the apex of our potential without grinding it out, in the interim period. This is the difference between the majority of us and the trust fund folks of the world. A lot of people might be born into a potential prominent role if and when they capture it. For those needing to scramble for it, that's an entirely different gambit. And if we're fresh out of college wanting to be a vice president somewhere, what does that even mean? Like, how are you even able to enter that kind of role and begin making wise decisions or daily judgments? Like, and I think a lot of young people see the kind of false consciousness of advertising. They see celebrities with hundreds of thousands, millions of followers on social media, and they're making it look stinking good and easy. And they're making millions of dollars off of just tweeting about things, right? Sharing it on Instagram and starting these these people are sort of above reproach. All of this social media content is strategically planned, okay? Like we try to teach in courses like writing for mass and social media that many of you often report favorably about. COM 2803. We have to learn these tools of trade. Don't be afraid to fail at something when you get out there. That can be exciting, okay, to do something and learn you don't have passion for it, or to realize you don't want to do it for 10 or 15, 20 years, or 10 or 15 months even, but float around, right? Gain some experience. We need an experience pool. That's why our coursework tries to shoot you in a number of directions. We're introducing these different ideas, giving you that strong sample platter, if you will, with some focused core educational goals and outcomes that we were able to assess successfully. Okay. How are you supposed to follow a celebrity and try to get an interview without annoying them? Exactly. Learn from others is one thing, but here's something. I just read about this on social media in the last week. Over the weekend, I believe on Twitter, there was a screenwriter in Hollywood tweeting out about they were giving directions to people, whoever is their followers or whatever. Please do not DM me your manuscripts. Not only do I not want to read them, I cannot legally read them. And so this gets at another area we don't often think about, that much of Hollywood is unionized, okay? What is that? There are unions and legalities in place, allegedly, that require certain channels that you have to pass through. And this is where we get into these sticky circumstances of how is the same cabal of people always have their name on everything, and there's a narrow passageway to find success in that arena, unless you're a golden egg. And there's plenty of golden eggs out there, right? They have professionals that scout for golden geese, right? That are going to lay golden eggs. I hope you know what I mean there. But SAG, Screen Actors Guild, right? The Writers Guild. There are all of these union organizations, and these are protections. Actually, they're meant to protect those that are accredited or trained or have crossed the threshold into that domain. And so a lot of times, if you're doing, for the people that do celebrity interviews on that you see all over TV, like, these are carefully negotiated in advance. Okay, the press agents, the PR reps for the agency firms, they are all setting that stuff up. Like, celebrities don't just kind of, oh, I think I'm going to drive over to Conan today, right? Or show up at the Daily Show. Like, all of this stuff is mapped out by brand managers, right? Social media strategists. Okay, so you could grow into roles where you're behind the scenes helping with that kind of stuff. That is more likely. That's why political internships are so valuable. You get around those people, you understand how these sort of behind the scenes levels of negotiations and intergroup communication work, and you pick up on those rhythms over time, and it helps you kind of function within those roles. And then that's how we get to that next level of becoming people that help create those opportunities. This is a great question, so I don't want to skip over it, but then I'm going to jump to our next student here. If someone is nervous in the interview, how can you make him or her feel better talking to you? What can we do to make them feel like it is okay to be interviewed? Page 20 of chapter 2. Warm-up questions. Warm-up questions are great. These you want them to feel a desirable level of acceptance in that situation. As an interviewer, share power with them. Okay. Again, I think sometimes we think that interviewing is all about that gotcha stuff, right? Where we're trying to trap or trick someone into revealing something to us. No, interviewing is a relational exchange of information. And if you can establish a healthy and open relationship with that individual, then they're more likely to conceal rather than reveal to us. I think that makes sense. And of course, just like we're doing here, because we're trying to simulate real experience in this class and positive ethics, send the questions in advance. They'll let you know if they want to answer or comment on a question line. Don't make or break on a single interview. There's something called, you don't never want to burn a source, right? You want to be able to potentially turn to them later, right? You want to be in a situation of mutual gain with an interview subject. I think that's an important takeaway we can have. Dana comments on chapter 1 of Interviewing for Journalists. To back up a little bit, she writes, page 4 and 5 talk about the feelings of apprehension and how most experienced journalists admit to nervousness at some point in their careers. Page 4. Cole Morton says, if you don't get it, you're in trouble. Page 5. Has there been a time where a journalist can fake it till they make it? I'm sure many times. Or is an interview a sink or swim situation? Also, yes. Let me be blunt here for a second and say journalism can be is often a high pressure position. Sometimes very thankless, especially in today's weird political climate, and high pressure professions, whether it's journalism, oil and gas field, med school, law school, you name it. High pressure professions naturally weed out the quote unquote weak, right? I'm not saying they're weak people, but the weak in terms of the competition and level of fire it takes to succeed. Okay, so that's the thing that happens. Page 8 talks about accurate quoting. What if an interviewee says something that the journalist thinks they heard one way, but the person meant a statement in a completely different context? Does that ruin a journalist's reputation? There's no one answer. It can, or it could be cleared up, right? Depending on the how you work that. Or sometimes the nasty journalists benefit from exploitation. All right, so we're almost done. We're almost at the end of the line here, I think. We'll be back with part 4 of our commentary, Digital Dialogue.